Hello and welcome. The blood that flows through certain veins carries more than life. It carries starlight, hope condensed into mortal form, and the weight of expectations that stretch beyond the material plane into realms of pure goodness. You have heard whispers of those who walk with heaven's touch upon their shoulders, whose eyes reflect something beyond mortality, whose very presence seems to soften the harsh edges of a cruel world. Tonight, we delve into the mysteries of the Aasimar, those touched by celestial power, born of divine grace, and marked by destinies written in the language of angels. The Aasimar stand as living proof that the upper planes reach into the mortal world, that goodness itself can take flesh and walk among those who struggle through darkness. They are not simply mortals who worship celestial beings. They are not clerics who channel divine power through prayer. They are something far more intimate, far more profound. They carry the essence of the heavens within their very souls, passed down through bloodlines that trace back to unions between mortals and celestial beings, to moments when the barrier between planes grew thin enough for love, duty, or divine intervention to bridge the gap between human frailty and angelic perfection. When you look upon an Aasimar, you see humanity elevated. Their features often possess an otherworldly quality that sets them apart without removing them from mortal understanding. Perhaps their skin carries an unusual luminescence, as though lit from within by gentle candlelight. Their hair might shimmer with metallic hues, gold or silver or copper, catching light in ways that seem impossible for normal hair. Their eyes hold depths that speak of wisdom beyond their years, irises that might glow faintly in darkness or reflect light with an almost metallic sheen. Some bear birthmarks that resemble holy symbols or celestial constellations. Others possess voices that carry harmonics, as if every word they speak resonates with distant choirs, singing praises in temples built of clouds and righteousness. But these physical manifestations represent only the surface of what it means to carry celestial blood. The true nature of Aasimar lies deeper in the fundamental composition of their being, where tieflings carry the taint of the lower planes, marking them with the touch of fiends and the weight of infernal or abyssal corruption. Aasimar bear the opposite burden. They carry the blessing and responsibility of the upper planes, the touch of beings who embody law, good, or both in their purest forms. This is not simply a matter of magical heritage or unusual ancestry. This represents a fundamental connection to planes of existence where concepts like compassion, justice, and mercy exist as tangible forces, where righteousness is not merely an ideal, but the very substance of reality itself. The origins of Aasimar trace back to the earliest days of mortal civilization, when the boundaries between planes were less rigid, when celestial beings walked more freely upon the material plane. In those ancient times, gods still directly involved themselves in mortal affairs, and their servants, the celestials, carried out divine will with personal investment in the fate of mortals. Devas descended from Mount Celestia to guide the righteous. Planeters manifested to turn the tide of battles between good and evil. Solars appeared to deliver prophecies or champion worthy causes. And in those encounters, connections formed that would echo through generations. The circumstances of these celestial and mortal unions varied widely, though the evidence suggests that romance formed only one of several paths to creating celestial bloodlines. A diva might take mortal form to walk among humans for years or even decades, growing close to someone whose soul shone with particular brightness. A planeter might choose to remain in the material plane after a great victory, finding purpose in protecting a community that had shown remarkable courage against overwhelming darkness. Based on what we know of how gods and celestials operated in those times, we can reasonably infer that some unions occurred through divine instruction, where celestial beings were specifically directed to plant seeds of divine essence within mortal lineages tied to prophecy or cosmic purpose. These unions, whether born of love, duty, or divine instruction, planted seeds of celestial essence within mortal lineages that would bloom in unexpected ways across the centuries. The children born of such unions carried more than their mortal parents' humanity. They carried a spark of the upper planes, a fragment of celestial nature woven into their souls like threads of golden light through mortal cloth. But Aasimar are not half celestials in the way that half elves are precisely half of two heritages. The celestial blood does not dilute in the same predictable manner. Instead, it persists through generations, sometimes skipping individuals entirely only to manifest strongly in a grandchild or great-grandchild. A human mother and human father might give birth to an Aasimar child, puzzled by the luminous infant, until a grandparent recalls stories of an ancestor blessed by angels 3 generations past. The celestial touch moves through bloodlines according to its own mysterious patterns, which could imply guidance by divine will, or perhaps alignment with the spiritual readiness of the individual to bear such a gift. This unpredictable manifestation means Aasimar appear across all mortal races. While humans represent the most common heritage due to their widespread populations and shorter lifespans, allowing more generational chances for celestial blood to emerge. Aasimar can be born to elven parents, dwarven clans, halfling families, or any other mortal race that walks the material world. A half-orc might discover celestial heritage within their bloodline, the divine light struggling to harmonize with both human and orcish natures. A dragonborn might hatch with features that mark them as touched by something beyond their draconic ancestry. The celestial spark recognizes no racial boundaries among mortals. For the upper planes care only about the purity of the soul and the potential for righteousness that lies within. In the lands of Faerun, the history of Aasimar connects intimately with the ancient empire of Mulhorand. This realm, touched by gods who walked as avatars among their people, became a cradle for celestial bloodlines. The Mulhorandi pantheon, interloper deities who arrived in this world through extraordinary circumstances, maintained physical forms upon the material plane. Unlike other gods who remained distant in their celestial realms, these deities walked among their worshippers, ruled as god pharaohs, and took mortal lovers or granted their blessings directly through physical contact. The result was a land where Aasimar appeared with far greater frequency than anywhere else in the known world. When the Aasimari wizards, those ancient and arrogant mages who believed themselves beyond divine retribution, kidnapped slaves from a distant world and shielded them from their gods with powerful magic, they unknowingly set events in motion that would forever change the nature of celestial bloodlines in Faerun. The slaves, the Mulani people, cried out for deliverance. Their gods heard those cries, but found themselves blocked by Aasimari magic from manifesting in their full divine glory. So they came as avatars, taking physical forms that could slip through the barriers the wizards had erected. These avatar forms were not mere illusions or projections. They were flesh and blood, divine essence poured into mortal-shaped vessels. And in those forms, the gods sired children who carried their celestial nature forward into mortal lineages. Thus, Mulhorand became known throughout history as the land where Aasimar walked in greater numbers than anywhere else upon the face of the world. Even after the time of troubles, even after the spell plague reshaped reality itself, even after the second sundering returned the world to familiar patterns, Mulhorand retained its reputation as a place where the touch of heaven lingered in bloodlines, both noble and common. To be Aasimar in Mulhorand meant to be part of a living legacy, a tradition of divine service stretching back thousands of years. Outside Mulhorand, however, Aasimar remained extraordinarily rare, appearing as singular blessed individuals in communities that might never see another of their kind. The rarity of Aasimar cannot be overstated. Most will live their entire lives without ever meeting another who shares their celestial heritage. They are born to mortal parents in mortal communities, raised among humans or elves or dwarves, or whatever race forms their primary ancestry. They grow up feeling different, marked by qualities that set them apart, but do not necessarily alienate them. An Aasimar child might find that other children are drawn to their presence, seeking comfort in their company without understanding why. Animals might react with unusual calmness or curiosity. The sick or injured might seem to rest easier in their presence. Small signs, subtle indicators that something sets them apart from their peers. As they mature, the celestial nature within them grows stronger and more apparent. The luminous quality of their features becomes more pronounced. Their natural resistance to harm manifests in ways that seem miraculous to observers. Wounds that should be serious heal with unusual speed. Poisons and diseases affect them less severely than they should. And most significantly, they begin to experience the dreams, the visions, the whispers from beyond that mark them as chosen by the upper planes for purposes they must discover and fulfill. Every Aasimar, except for those who have turned completely to evil and severed their connection to the celestial realms, possesses a link to an angelic being. This entity, usually a diva, though sometimes a more powerful celestial, serves as a guide and mentor to the Aasimar throughout their mortal life. But this is not the simple teacher and student relationship that mortals understand. The diva does not manifest physically to offer instruction. It does not speak in clear words or provide detailed plans for action. Instead, the connection functions through dreams, through visions that come in the quiet hours of sleep, through feelings and intuitions that guide the Aasimar toward their destined purpose. The diva guide dwells in Mount Celestia, or perhaps one of the other upper planes, bound to the Aasimar through a connection that transcends physical distance. It observes the Aasimar's life from afar, witnessing their struggles, their choices, their growth as both mortal and celestial champion. When guidance becomes necessary, when the Aasimar faces decisions that will shape their destiny or the fate of others, the diva sends visions. These might be symbolic dreams filled with imagery that must be interpreted. They might be prophetic glimpses of possible futures. They might be overwhelming feelings of rightness or wrongness about certain courses of action. The communication is never simple or straightforward, which suggests that the diva exists in a realm of absolute law and good, a place where moral clarity is perfect and compromise is unknown. This creates tension at the heart of the Aasimar experience. The diva guide, for all its wisdom and power, may not fully understand the complexities of mortal existence in the way mortals do. It has never known hunger or fear or doubt. It has never faced the impossible choice between two evils or the difficult decision to sacrifice one good for another greater good. It sees the world in terms of law and chaos, good and evil, light and darkness. But mortals live in shades of gray, in situations where the right path is unclear, and every choice carries consequences that might hurt someone. The diva expects perfection from its Aasimar ward. It expects unwavering commitment to righteousness. And the Aasimar, caught between their mortal nature and celestial heritage, must find ways to honor that expectation while still navigating the messy reality of life in the material world. The burden of this guidance shapes three distinct types of Aasimar, three paths that celestial bloodlines might take depending on how the individual responds to their nature and calling. Protector Aasimar embrace their role as guardians and champions with grace and wisdom. They see their celestial gifts as tools to defend the innocent and uplift the downtrodden. When they unleash the divine energy within themselves, luminous incorporeal wings sprout from their backs, granting them the gift of flight as they become living embodiments of angelic intervention. They strike down evil with measured force, always seeking to preserve life where possible and destroy only that which cannot be redeemed. Scourge Aasimar burn with a more intense flame. The divine energy within them blazes like a barely contained inferno, feeding an overwhelming desire to destroy evil in all its forms. This desire, at its best, makes them unflinching warriors against darkness. At its worst, it becomes all-consuming, turning them into zealots who see evil everywhere and respond with disproportionate force. Many scourge Aasimar wear masks to block out the world, focusing inward to contain the power that threatens to consume them. When they finally unleash their transformation, searing light radiates from their eyes and mouth, threatening to burn them even as it incinerates their enemies. They are weapons of divine vengeance, accepting harm to themselves if it means evil will be purged from the world. And then there are the fallen Aasimar. These are the ones who turned from their celestial heritage, who rejected their diva guide, or were corrupted by evil in their youth. Perhaps they grew cynical after witnessing too much injustice that the forces of good seemed unable or unwilling to prevent. Perhaps they were manipulated by dark powers that recognized the threat a celestial blooded champion might pose. Perhaps they simply grew weary of the impossible standards their guide demanded and chose their own path in defiance of heaven's will. When a fallen Aasimar transforms, their eyes become pools of darkness and skeletal ghostly wings sprout from their back. They wield necrotic energy instead of radiant light, turning the gifts of the upper planes into tools of fear and destruction. But even fallen Aasimar are not beyond redemption, as the evidence suggests that the celestial blood that flows through their veins does not disappear simply because they have turned from righteousness. It remains, dormant perhaps, waiting for the moment when they might choose to return to the light. Some fallen Aasimar walk their dark path only to discover, years or decades later, that they cannot escape what they truly are. A moment of compassion, an unexpected act of mercy, a choice to protect someone weak despite having no reason to do so. These moments can rekindle the celestial spark within them, potentially reopening the connection to their diva guide and offering them a chance to become protector or scourge once more. The appearance of Aasimar varies as widely as the mortal races from which they spring. An Aasimar of elven lineage might possess the characteristic pointed ears and graceful build of elves, combined with skin that glows like moonlight and hair that shimmers with silver and gold highlights. An Aasimar dwarf might stand with the stocky strength of their kin, while their beard grows in metallic copper threads, and their eyes shine with inner radiance. Halfling Aasimar retain their small stature, but move with an unusual grace that seems almost to defy gravity. Dragonborn Aasimar display scales that shine with opalescent light, rather than the typical draconic coloration. What unites them all, regardless of their mortal ancestry, is the sense of otherworldliness they project. Even an Aasimar who tries to hide their nature cannot completely suppress the aura of celestial heritage that clings to them. Light seems to favor them, catching their features in ways that make them appear more beautiful or noble than they might objectively be. Their presence brings comfort to the righteous and disquiet to those with evil in their hearts. Holy symbols grow warm in their presence. Consecrated ground seems to welcome them, as if recognizing kindred spirits. Undead creatures feel instinctive hatred toward them, sensing the radiant energy that could unmake their unnatural existence. This innate connection to radiant energy manifests in practical ways throughout an Aasimar's life. They possess natural resistance to radiant damage, their celestial blood protecting them from the very energies they embody. A spell that bathes an area in holy light might sear the flesh of others, but only warms an Aasimar's skin. This resistance extends to a general hardiness against harm, as if the upper planes themselves wish to preserve their chosen champions for the battles ahead. Many Aasimar discover they can call upon the light-bearer cantrip instinctively, causing their hands to glow with gentle radiance that illuminates darkness without need for torch or lantern. In the great city of Waterdeep, sometimes called the City of Splendors, Aasimar appear rarely, but are generally treated with respect and curiosity rather than fear. The cosmopolitan nature of the city means its citizens have encountered many unusual beings, and the obvious celestial nature of Aasimar marks them as likely allies rather than threats. Temples welcome them. Noble houses sometimes seek them out for blessings or protection. Adventuring companies value them as members, whose divine gifts might tip the balance in struggles against evil. Yet even in Waterdeep, an Aasimar remains a remarkable sight, someone who draws attention and stares wherever they walk. Outside the great cities, in smaller towns and rural communities, reactions to Aasimar vary widely. Some see them as blessed, as holy figures sent by the gods to bring light to dark times. Others fear them as too different, too strange, too removed from common mortal experience to be truly trusted. An Aasimar might arrive in a village and be welcomed as a hero prophesied in local legends. Or they might be met with suspicion and asked to move along before their presence brings trouble. This uncertainty about how they will be received pushes many Aasimar toward lives of wandering, moving from place to place rather than settling down to build lasting communities. The celestial blood within an Aasimar never fades with age. An Aasimar child glows with potential. An Aasimar elder shines with accumulated wisdom and power. Some scholars theorize that Aasimar might live longer than their mortal kindred, their celestial heritage slowing the aging process, though concrete evidence for this remains elusive. Others suggest that Aasimar who truly embrace their nature might eventually transcend mortality entirely, called to the upper planes to serve among the celestials as reward for a lifetime of righteous service. No definitive answer exists because Aasimar are too rare and too scattered for comprehensive studies. Each walks their own path, guided by their diva and shaped by their choices, moving toward destinies that only the heavens fully understand. Section 2. The Celestial Guides and Sacred Callings. Your dreams take on a quality that no mortal should experience. In the quiet hours when sleep claims you, when consciousness fades and the barriers between planes grow thin, you feel something reaching across the infinite distance between worlds. A presence, an intelligence vast and pure, untainted by doubt or darkness, observing your life with interest that feels both comforting and terrifying. This is the burden and blessing that defines every Aasimar who has not turned completely to evil. This is the connection to a diva, an angelic being whose very existence embodies law and goodness in their most absolute forms. The diva guide does not appear before you in physical form. It does not knock upon your door, sit at your table, or walk beside you through the streets. Such direct manifestation would be too dangerous, too disruptive to the delicate balance between planes that must be maintained for reality to function. Instead, the connection functions through dreams, through visions that arrive unbidden in the night, through moments when sleep transforms into something more than rest. You close your eyes in your bed, and suddenly you stand in a realm of impossible beauty, where towers of crystal rise toward skies of perfect blue, where the air itself seems to sing with righteousness, where every stone and blade of grass radiates purpose and meaning. The diva appears to you in these dream visions, but never with perfect clarity. You might perceive it as a figure of radiant light too bright to look upon directly. You might hear its voice as harmonics that resonate in your bones rather than your ears. You might feel its presence as warmth that fills you with certainty and resolve. The the form changes from vision to vision, which could imply that the diva exists in a state so removed from mortal comprehension that your sleeping mind struggles to translate its true nature into images you can process and remember upon waking. The guidance the diva provides never arrives as clear commands or detailed instructions. This frustrates you sometimes, lying awake after a particularly vivid vision, trying to understand what message the celestial being attempted to convey. The diva showed you a city burning, but was it prophecy of what will happen or warning of what might happen if you fail to act? The diva filled you with overwhelming grief as you beheld a child crying alone in darkness. But which child, and where, and when? The diva surrounded you with feelings of approval or disappointment in response to choices you have made. But mortal choices are complex, filled with shades of gray that beings of absolute law and good struggle to navigate or understand. This disconnect between the diva's understanding and your lived reality forms the central tension of your existence as Aasimar. The diva dwells in Mount Celestia, or perhaps one of the other upper planes, realms where good and law are not abstract concepts, but fundamental properties of existence itself. In those places, the right choice is always obvious. The path of righteousness shines like a beacon that cannot be missed or mistaken. Evil announces itself with clarity, marked by its very nature as something to be opposed and destroyed. But you walk the material plane, where the innkeeper who serves you breakfast might secretly beat his children, where the thief who steals bread might be feeding orphans, where the paladin sworn to justice might enforce laws that create suffering. Based on what we know of celestial nature, we can infer that the diva cannot fully grasp these complexities because it has never experienced them. It has never known hunger that drives someone to steal. It has never felt fear that makes someone betray a friend. It has never understood the exhaustion that comes from fighting endless battles against darkness that never truly recedes. The diva sees your life from the perspective of eternity, viewing your choices through the lens of cosmic significance rather than immediate necessity. It expects perfection from you, unwavering commitment to goodness, total dedication to the mission it has chosen for you. And when you inevitably fall short of these impossible standards, when you make compromises or choose pragmatism over idealism, you feel its disappointment washing over you in dreams tinged with sorrow. Despite these challenges, the connection to your diva guide provides something invaluable. It offers you purpose in a world that often seems purposeless. It gives you certainty that your existence matters, that you are marked by the upper planes for reasons that transcend your own desires or fears. When darkness closes in around you, when the struggle against evil seems hopeless, when you wonder whether your efforts make any difference at all, The diva sends visions that remind you of the larger pattern, the greater design into which your life fits like a single thread in an infinite weaving of light across ages. The diva also provides warnings when great evil stirs in the world, because it exists partially outside time as mortals understand it, because it maintains connections to other celestials who observe reality from perspectives impossible for material beings. The diva possesses insight into threats that have not yet fully manifested. You might receive visions of a cult gathering in secret, of a demon seeking to cross into the material plane, of a necromancer assembling power to unleash undead horrors upon the innocent. These warnings arrive without context, without maps or names or specific details that would make acting upon them simple. The diva shows you what it perceives, and you must interpret, investigate, and ultimately decide how to respond. Some Aasimar embrace their diva guide with total devotion. They structure their entire lives around interpreting and fulfilling the visions they receive. They become wandering champions, moving from place to place in response to dreams that guide them toward battles against evil. They accept that they will never live normal lives, never settle in one community, never form lasting relationships with those not touched by celestial purpose. They sacrifice personal happiness for the mission their guide has given them. And in that sacrifice, they find fulfillment that transcends mortal understanding of joy. These devoted Aasimar typically manifest as protectors, the most common and perhaps most balanced of the three paths available to those who carry celestial blood. From youth, protector Aasimar receive visions that urge them to stand against evil, to guard the weak, to place themselves between darkness and innocence. The diva guide shapes them carefully, teaching through dreams the difference between justice and vengeance, between protection and control, between righteousness and self-righteousness. A protector Aasimar learns to measure their responses, to strike only when necessary, to offer mercy when possible, to recognize that even those who have done evil might be redeemed. When a protector Aasimar reaches maturity and gains sufficient experience, typically around third level of adventuring capability, they gain the ability to unleash the divine energy that has been building within them since birth. This transformation, called Radiant Soul, represents the moment when the boundary between mortal and celestial grows thin enough for heaven's power to pour through. You feel it first as warmth in your chest, spreading outward through your limbs, filling you with light that seeks expression. You release that light with an act of will, and your eyes begin to glimmer with radiance that pushes back shadows. Then the wings emerge. They are not physical, not made of feathers and bone like the wings of birds or dragons. They are incorporeal, formed of pure radiance, luminous extensions of your divine nature made visible and tangible. They unfold from your back, translucent and shimmering, catching light in ways that seem impossible for anything material. When you beat these wings, they lift you into the air, granting you a flying speed of 30 feet. You rise above the battlefield, above the threats that seek to overwhelm you, ascending toward the sky as if drawn upward by the upper planes themselves, calling you home. While this transformation lasts, which extends for 1 full minute, or until you end it early as a bonus action, your attacks carry extra radiant damage. Once on each of your turns, when you deal damage to a target with an attack or spell, you can add extra radiant damage equal to your level. Whether you strike with sword or spell, whether you channel divine magic or rely on martial prowess, this additional radiant energy blazes with holy light. This radiance sears evil particularly effectively, burning through the unnatural essence of fiends and undead, causing them pain beyond what the physical impact alone would inflict. You become in that moment what mortals imagine when they think of angels descending to fight on behalf of the righteous. You become the answer to prayers whispered in darkness by those who hope that someone, somewhere, cares enough to intervene. The transformation can only be sustained for that brief time. The mortal body, even one touched by celestial blood, cannot contain and channel such power indefinitely. You feel the energy beginning to fade, the wings growing less substantial, the radiance dimming. With a final beat of incorporeal pinions, you descend back to earth, back to your mortal limitations, exhausted from the effort of channeling heaven through flesh. Once you have used this ability, you must rest completely, finishing a long rest before you can access it again. The celestial energy needs time to replenish, to build once more within you, until it reaches the threshold where transformation becomes possible. Not all Aasimar walk the measured path of the Protector. Some burn with intensity that cannot be contained or controlled. These are the Scourge Aasimar, individuals in whom the celestial fire blazes so hot that it threatens to consume them from within. Perhaps their diva guide pushes them too hard, sending visions of evil so pervasive and terrible that patience seems like cowardice. Perhaps they witnessed atrocities in their youth that kindled rage impossible to extinguish. Perhaps the celestial blood within them simply manifested in a more volatile form, creating beings who embody divine wrath rather than divine mercy. Scourge Aasimar see evil everywhere because, in truth, evil exists everywhere. No society is pure. No institution is uncorrupted. No individual is without sin. While Protector Aasimar learned to prioritize, to focus on the greatest threats, and accept that lesser evils must sometimes be tolerated, Scourge Aasimar cannot make such compromises. They look upon a city and see not the good people trying to live decent lives, But the criminals in the shadows, the corrupt officials in their palaces, the merchants who exploit the poor, the priests who preach righteousness while hoarding wealth. The world becomes a catalog of targets, an endless list of evils to be purged, and the scourge Aasimar drives themselves toward exhaustion, trying to cleanse what cannot truly be cleansed. Many scourge Aasimar adopt the practice of wearing masks. These masks serve multiple purposes. Most practically, they filter out the sight of a world so filled with moral compromise that witnessing it constantly becomes unbearable. By limiting their field of vision, by focusing on what lies directly before them, rather than taking in the full scope of imperfection that surrounds them, they can maintain some degree of calm. More symbolically, the masks represent their attempt to contain the energy burning within them, to create a barrier between their inner fire and the world that would be scorched if that fire escaped without control. The transformation ability of scourge Aasimar differs dramatically from that of their protector kin. When a scourge Aasimar unleashes their celestial nature through radiant consumption, they do not sprout beautiful wings of light. Instead, searing radiance pours from their eyes and mouth, as if their body has become too small to contain the power within, and that power seeks escape through any available opening. The light that streams from them is not gentle or comforting. It is harsh, bright enough to hurt mortal eyes, hot enough to be felt as physical heat by anyone standing nearby. They become a burning star given human form, a vessel of purifying fire that destroys evil, but risks destroying itself in the process. This destructive power extends in all directions around the scourge Aasimar. At the end of each of your turns while transformed, you and each creature within 10 feet of you takes radiant damage equal to half your level, rounded up. This makes them dangerous to fight alongside, because allies can be caught in the radius of their power just as easily as enemies. A scourge Aasimar who transforms in the midst of a battle must trust that their companions can withstand or avoid the radiance, or they must position themselves carefully to engage enemies at range, where friendly fire becomes less of a concern. Their transformation turns them into living weapons of area destruction, capable of purging entire groups of foes, but paying a price for that power. The price comes in the form of self-inflicted harm. The radiance that pours from a scourge Aasimar does not distinguish between the body it emerges from and the bodies around it. They burn themselves with the same holy fire they direct at others. With each turn the transformation continues, they suffer damage to their own flesh, accepting harm to themselves if it means evil will be destroyed. This self-destructive aspect of their nature perfectly embodies the psychology of the scourge, the willingness to sacrifice everything, including their own life, in pursuit of absolute righteousness. They measure success not by whether they survive, but by whether evil falls before them. Yet Aasimar possess natural resistance to radiant damage, their celestial blood protecting them from the very energies they embody. This resistance means the harm a scourge Aasimar inflicts upon themselves, while significant, is reduced by half due to their innate protection. They can maintain their transformation for the full minute if they choose, burning continuously, trusting that their celestial heritage will preserve them long enough to complete their mission. After the transformation ends, they stand scorched and exhausted, marked by their own power, reminded viscerally of the cost of the path they have chosen to walk. And then there are those who turned away. The fallen Aasimar represent the tragedy at the heart of celestial bloodlines. They were born with the same potential for good, the same connection to the upper planes, the same diva guide watching over them. But somewhere along their path, they rejected it all. Perhaps they grew up in circumstances so terrible that the idea of benevolent celestial beings watching over the world seemed like a cruel joke. Perhaps they encountered evil so powerful and pervasive that fighting it seemed hopeless. And if you cannot win, why not join the victors? Perhaps their diva guide demanded too much, pushed too hard, offered no understanding of mortal weakness. And in their exhaustion and resentment, they severed the connection that defined them. A fallen Aasimar has not lost their celestial blood. The divine essence woven into their soul cannot be removed simply by choice or corruption. What they have lost is the guidance, the visions, the connection to the diva that once shaped their path. They wake from sleep without dreams of crystal towers and harmonious voices. They make choices without feeling celestial approval or disappointment washing over them. They walk free of heaven's expectations, liberated from the burden of a destiny they never asked for, released into the terrible freedom of determining their own purpose without regard for some grand divine design. This freedom comes with a cost. The celestial energy within a fallen Aasimar, no longer shaped and directed by a diva guide, twists into something darker. It does not disappear or weaken. Instead, it transforms, becoming necrotic rather than radiant, fueled by the anger or despair or nihilism that drove the Aasimar to reject their heritage. When a fallen Aasimar unleashes this corrupted celestial nature through necrotic shroud, their eyes become pools of shadow, darkness leaking from them like tears of liquid night. Skeletal, ghostly wings unfold from their back, not the beautiful, radiant wings of the protector, but horrible parodies that speak of death rather than hope. The instant this transformation occurs, creatures within 10 feet of you who can see you must confront overwhelming supernatural fear. They must succeed on a charisma saving throw, with the difficulty determined by your own power and force of personality, or become frightened of you until the end of your next turn. The sight of a celestial being corrupted, of divine light replaced by necrotic shadow, triggers primal terror that bypasses rational thought. Enemies must flee or cower before the horror of heaven fallen. Even allies might feel their courage waver, recognizing that they fight alongside someone who has rejected the path of goodness, whose celestial gifts now serve purposes the upper planes never intended. While transformed, the fallen Aasimar deals extra necrotic damage with their attacks, channeling death energy through every strike. Once on each of your turns, when you deal damage with an attack or spell, you add extra necrotic damage equal to your level. This makes them particularly effective against certain enemies who resist radiant damage but remain vulnerable to necrotic power. They become weapons of entropy and endings, destroying not with holy fire, but with the cold touch of the grave. Their abilities mirror those of Protector and Scourge Aasimar in mechanical function, but diverge completely in flavor and implication. Where Protector wings allow flight toward hope, fallen wings remain grounded, unable to lift their bearer toward the heavens that have rejected them, or that they have rejected. Yet even fallen Aasimar can be redeemed, as the lore suggests. The celestial blood within them remains pure despite their choices. The Diva Guide, while no longer able to communicate with them directly, continues to watch from afar, waiting for any sign that the connection might be restored. A single act of genuine selflessness, one moment where the fallen Aasimar chooses good without expectation of reward, can reopen the channel between planes. The visions might return, at first faint and uncertain, then growing stronger as the Aasimar demonstrates commitment to walking once more in the light. Some fallen Aasimar spend years in darkness before finding their way back, emerging from their time of corruption with wisdom and compassion they never possessed in their first life as protectors. The path an Aasimar walks depends on countless factors. The nature of their Diva Guide, whether it emphasizes mercy or justice, patience or urgency. The circumstances of their upbringing, whether they grew surrounded by love or abuse, wealth or poverty, peace or war. The strength of their will, whether they possess the fortitude to bear the expectations placed upon them, or crack under the weight of a destiny they never chose. Some protectors become scourge when they witness one too many atrocities and lose the ability to measure their response. Some scourge burn out and become fallen when they recognize that their zealotry causes as much harm as the evil they fight. Some fallen find redemption and become protectors, their time in darkness teaching them the value of the light they once took for granted. You carry all of this within you, the potential for any path, the capacity for transformation in multiple senses of that word. Your Diva Guide watches and whispers through dreams, but ultimately you remain free to choose how you will respond to the celestial heritage flowing through your veins. Will you embrace it, direct it, master it? Or will you be consumed by it, defined entirely by expectations that feel more like chains than blessings? This question haunts every Aasimar who lives long enough to truly understand what they are and what they might become. Section 3. Walking Among Mortals. Your birth brought questions no one could answer. Your parents looked upon you with wonder and perhaps fear, seeing in your features something that marked you as different from the moment you drew your first breath. The midwife who delivered you spoke in hushed tones about the unusual luminescence of your skin, the way light seemed to gather around you, even in the dim, candlelit room where you entered the world. As you grew from infant to child, the questions only multiplied. Why did hurt animals calm when you approached them? Why did the village priest insist on blessing you every time your family attended services, as though your very presence required acknowledgement from the divine? Why did some people smile when they saw you while others looked away, uncomfortable with something they could not name or understand? Living among mortals when you carry celestial blood means existing in a state of permanent displacement. You are not truly one of them, though you share their form, their needs, their capacity for joy and sorrow, and all the emotions that define mortal existence. You are not celestial, not an angel who can return to the upper planes when the material world grows too heavy or complicated. You are caught between, belonging fully to neither realm, carrying the expectations of heaven while navigating the messy reality of earth. This displacement shapes every aspect of your daily existence, from the simplest interactions to the most profound decisions about who you are and what purpose you will serve in the world. Aasimar possess no true homeland, no city where your kind gather in numbers sufficient to create culture, or community distinct from the mortal races among whom you live. You are scattered across the world like seeds carried by wind, landing wherever chance or destiny places you, taking root in communities that have never seen another of your kind, and likely never will again. This isolation defines the Aasimar experience more than any physical trait or supernatural ability. You live your entire life surrounded by people who cannot truly understand what it means to hear celestial voices in dreams, to feel the weight of divine purpose pressing upon your shoulders, to know that somewhere in realms beyond mortal comprehension, beings of pure goodness watch your choices and measure your worth according to standards no mortal could consistently meet. In the ancient lands of Mulhorand and Undr, this isolation lessens somewhat. These territories, touched by gods who walked as avatars among their people, became the closest thing Aasimar possess to a traditional homeland. In Mulhorand particularly, before the spell plague reshaped reality and devastated these ancient kingdoms, Aasimar appeared frequently enough that seeing one did not constitute a remarkable event. The god pharaohs who ruled this land sired children with mortals, and those children carried celestial essence forward through generations. An Aasimar born in Mulhorand might grow up knowing cousins who shared their heritage, might attend temples where priests understood the unique spiritual challenges of carrying divine blood, might find mentors who could guide them through the process of interpreting visions and understanding the connection to their diva guide. But even in Mulhorand, Aasimar never constituted more than a small fraction of the population. They remained special, marked, set apart by their nature. And outside Mulhorand, across the vast reaches of Faerun and beyond, they became extraordinarily rare. A city the size of Waterdeep, with its hundreds of thousands of residents, representing dozens of races from across the world, might have no more than a handful of Aasimar within its walls at any given time. Smaller communities might go centuries without seeing one. You could travel for months across the Sword Coast, passing through villages and towns and trading posts, and never encounter another soul who shares your celestial heritage or understands the burden it places upon you. This rarity shapes how others perceive and react to you. In cosmopolitan centers like Waterdeep, where citizens have learned to accept the strange and unusual as simply part of urban life, your presence draws curiosity more than fear. Merchants might believe you bring good fortune, offering you better prices in hopes that your celestial nature will bless their businesses. Tavern keepers might compete for your patronage, hoping that having an Aasimar frequenting their establishment will attract other customers or improve their reputation. Temples welcome you with particular warmth, their priests recognizing in you a living connection to the divine powers they serve. Adventuring companies actively recruit you, understanding that your abilities and celestial guidance might provide advantages in struggles against evil. Yet even in accepting environments, you remain perpetually aware of your difference. Conversations pause when you enter rooms. People watch you more carefully than they watch others, searching your face and actions for signs of the celestial nature they know flows through your veins. Children point and whisper. Parents use you as examples in moral lessons, telling their sons and daughters to behave righteously like the blessed Aasimar who walks among them. This attention, while not hostile, creates distance. You cannot simply exist. You must always represent something larger than yourself, must always be conscious that your actions reflect not only upon you, but upon mortal understanding of celestial beings and divine will. Outside the great cities, in rural communities where traditions run deep and strangers are viewed with suspicion, reactions to your presence become less predictable and potentially more dangerous. Some villages might welcome you as a miracle, a sign that the gods have not forgotten them in their struggles against the hardships of agricultural life. The local priest might ask you to bless crops or heal the sick, assuming that someone carrying celestial blood must possess powers beyond what you actually command. Farmers might bring their children to you for blessings, believing that your touch can protect their families from misfortune. In such places, you might find yourself elevated to a position of undeserved authority, treated as holy even though you are no more inherently righteous than any other mortal who strives to live according to principles of goodness. Other communities react with fear bordering on hostility. They see in your luminous features and otherworldly presence something that threatens the order of their familiar world. They whisper that your kind draws attention from forces better left undisturbed, that the presence of someone touched by the upper planes might provoke retaliation from the lower planes. They note how undead seem to hate you with particular intensity, how fiends react to your presence with heightened aggression, and they conclude that you bring danger rather than protection. The village elders might ask you politely, but firmly, to move along, explaining that while they mean you no harm, your continued presence makes people uncomfortable. They offer you supplies for the road, perhaps even coin, anything to ensure you leave quickly and take whatever trouble follows celestial bloodlines with you. This dual nature of reverence and rejection forces many Aasimar toward lives of wandering. You learn early that settling in one place rarely brings lasting happiness. Even communities that initially welcome you eventually grow uncomfortable with your permanent presence. The novelty wears off. People begin to resent the expectations your celestial nature places upon you, and by extension upon them. They notice that you mature at the same rate they do, but then continue living while they age, that your lifespan can stretch to 160 years. You reach adulthood at the same age as humans, experiencing the same stages of youth and early maturity. But then, while your human friends grow old and watch their children grow old, you remain in your prime for decades longer. This extended longevity, while less dramatic than elven centuries, still sets you apart, making it difficult to form deep connections with humans and other short-lived races, whose entire existence might unfold within what is merely the first half of your life. So you become a traveler, moving from place to place, never staying long enough to wear out your welcome or watch those you care about age and die, while you remain relatively young. You take on work that suits this wandering existence. You become an adventurer, using your celestial gifts to fight evil in all the scattered corners of the world. You become a traveling healer, moving between communities too small to support permanent temples, offering your healing hands ability to those who cannot afford more expensive magical aid. You become a messenger or scout, taking advantage of the trust your celestial nature inspires in those who employ people to carry sensitive information or explore dangerous territories. Your relationship with other races varies dramatically depending on the individuals involved and the cultural context in which you interact with them. Humans form the most common relationship simply due to their prevalence, and the fact that most Aasimar possess primarily human ancestry. Humans see in you an elevated version of themselves, proof that humanity possesses potential for ascension to something greater. This recognition can breed affection or resentment, depending on the individual human's nature and circumstances. Those who strive toward goodness might seek your friendship and guidance. Those who have embraced cynicism or evil might view you as a living rebuke to their choices, a constant reminder of paths they rejected or standards they can never meet. Elves regard you with interest tinged with melancholy. They recognize in you mortality elevated, but still ultimately mortal. A lifespan extended, but still brief by their reckoning. Elven communities might welcome you more readily than human settlements, because elves possess experience with beings who are more than mortal. They have walked with gods, witnessed the rise and fall of empires, maintain cultural memories of ages when the boundaries between planes were thinner. An Aasimar settling in an elven community might find acceptance precisely because elves understand better than most races what it means to be simultaneously mortal and something beyond mortal. Yet elves also recognize that you will age and die while they endure. Adding your friendship to the long catalog of beautiful temporary things they have loved and lost across centuries. Dwarves approach you with pragmatic curiosity. They respect craftsmanship and dedication to purpose, and they recognize in most Aasimar a commitment to ideals that mirrors their own cultural dedication to clan and craft. A dwarf might not fully understand the spiritual aspects of your celestial heritage, might view your diva guide as simply another form of ancestral connection, not unlike their own veneration of departed clan members. But they respect the results, the way you channel divine gifts toward practical goals of protecting the innocent and fighting evil. Dwarven communities might welcome you if you prove willing to contribute meaningfully to their society, rather than simply expecting special treatment based on your celestial blood. Halflings treat you with friendly curiosity, less intimidated by your divine nature than many other races. Halfling culture emphasizes comfort, community, and making the best of whatever life provides. They might appreciate your healing hand's ability for its practical applications, while remaining largely unconcerned with the cosmic implications of your heritage. A halfling community might welcome you simply because you seem like a decent person who could use a good meal and a comfortable place to rest. Approaching your celestial blood as just another interesting biographical detail rather than something that defines your entire existence. Half-elves and half-orcs often form strong connections with Aasimar, as historical records indicate that many Aasimar enjoyed the company of these mixed heritage races. Perhaps this stems from shared understanding of what it means to exist between categories, to be neither fully one thing nor another. Half-elves navigate the space between human brevity and elven eternity. Half-orcs balance human civilization with orcish strength and cultural expectations. You exist between mortal and celestial. This common experience of displacement can create bonds of understanding that transcend surface differences. Your relationship with tieflings often becomes complicated by factors, both instinctive and cultural. Canon lore reveals that very few Aasimar get along well with tieflings, as the celestial descended race is instinctively wary of those who carry fiendish blood. This wariness does not necessarily stem from conscious choice or prejudice. Rather, it appears to be something woven into the celestial essence itself, a reaction to the fundamental opposition between upper and lower planes, manifesting through their mortal descended representatives. You might intellectually recognize that a tiefling individual bears no responsibility for their heritage, that they deserve to be judged by their choices rather than their blood. Yet some part of you remains on guard in their presence, alert for signs of corruption or malice, even when none exist. This creates profound tension, because you above all others should understand how unfair it is to be judged by heritage rather than character. You spend your life navigating expectations and assumptions based on your celestial blood. You know intimately how frustrating it feels when people see only your ancestry and never truly perceive you as an individual. Yet here you stand, struggling against instinctive wariness toward tieflings who face the opposite version of the same prejudice. Where society grants you trust you may not deserve, it denies them trust they may desperately wish to earn. The best relationships between Aasimar and tieflings occur when both recognize these dynamics and choose to work past them through conscious effort and mutual respect. An Aasimar who has fallen and seeks redemption might find their closest ally in a tiefling who fights against their own dark nature. A tiefling who has achieved goodness despite every obstacle might inspire an Aasimar struggling with the weight of celestial expectations. Extraordinary circumstances can overcome the instinctive wariness, building connections based on shared struggle and mutual recognition of the difficulty inherent in defying expectations placed upon you by forces beyond your control. Genasi, those touched by elemental planes, strike Aasimar as strange even by their own standards. The elemental nature that defines Genasi feels alien to you in ways that other planetouched heritage does not. where you understand instinctively the tension between celestial and fiendish, between upper planes and lower planes. The elemental forces that shape Genasi exist outside that cosmic conflict entirely. They are neither good nor evil, neither lawful nor chaotic in the absolute sense. They simply are, embodying forces of nature that predate moral philosophy. This fundamental difference in the type of planar touch each of you carries can make mutual understanding difficult, though not impossible. Daily life as an Aasimar involves navigating countless small moments where your nature creates complications others never face. You enter a temple to pray, and the priests treat you with excessive reverence, asking you to lead rituals or bless congregants, unable to simply let you worship in peace. You seek employment, and potential employers either refuse to hire you, fearing you will draw unwanted attention to their business, or hire you immediately regardless of qualifications, hoping your presence will legitimize their enterprises. You attempt to form romantic relationships, and partners struggle with the reality of loving someone whose divine guide might send dreams about their relationship, whose celestial purpose might require them to leave without warning, whose very nature reminds them constantly of their own mortality and moral failings. You cannot simply exist in the moment. Every choice carries weight beyond its immediate consequences. Do you help the beggar knowing that word will spread of your compassion, and dozens more will seek your aid? Do you refuse, knowing that refusal will disappoint those who expect celestial touched individuals to embody perfect generosity? Do you intervene when you witness injustice, knowing that intervention might escalate situations and put innocence at risk? Do you remain silent, knowing that silence might disappoint your diva guide and violate the purpose you supposedly carry within your blood? The complexity exhausts you sometimes, making you understand why some Aasimar become fallen not through attraction to evil, but through simple weariness with the impossible standards their existence demands they meet. The rare occasions when you encounter another Aasimar become simultaneously wonderful and uncomfortable. Here stands someone who truly understands, who has experienced the weight of celestial guidance, who knows what it means to wake from dreams of crystal towers and struggle to interpret messages delivered in symbolic imagery. You might spend hours comparing experiences, discovering both similarities and striking differences in how your respective diva guides communicate, or what purposes they seem to want you to fulfill. These meetings can provide validation, proof that you are not alone in your struggles, evidence that the challenges you face are real rather than imagined or exaggerated. Yet these meetings also highlight your isolation. This other Aasimar follows different visions toward different purposes. Their path diverges from yours, and while you might travel together briefly, eventually you must part. each responding to separate callings that draw you toward different destinations. You cannot build lasting community even with your own kind, because your fundamental nature as Aasimar involves being scattered, being placed where celestial forces determine you are needed rather than where you might wish to remain. So you cherish the brief connection, exchange what wisdom and support you can, and continue your wandering with the bittersweet knowledge that understanding exists, but remains forever just beyond lasting reach. In the world of Aberon, where divine magic functions differently and the planes themselves follow alternate patterns, Aasimar occupy even stranger positions. The gods of Aberon do not directly involve themselves in mortal affairs in the same way they do in other worlds, creating theological complications for beings who claim descent from celestial servants of divine powers. Some Aberon scholars theorize that Aasimar in that world descend from the Quaddles who sacrificed themselves to imprison the Rakshasa Rajas, their celestial essence lingering in mortal bloodlines as legacy of that ancient sacrifice. This interpretation provides framework for understanding how celestial bloodlines could exist in a world where traditional divine hierarchy operates so differently. The city of Sharn, the great vertical metropolis of towers reaching toward the sky, might seem ideal for Aasimar. Its cosmopolitan nature means unusual races and exotic beings provoke less comment than they would elsewhere. Its many districts offer opportunities for all forms of work, from legitimate to criminal, from magical to mundane. Yet Sharn's very size and complexity can make isolation more profound rather than less. You can live among millions and still feel utterly alone, surrounded by people who will never understand what it means to carry celestial blood through streets where direct connection to the divine is considered mythological rather than lived reality. Ultimately, walking among mortals as Aasimar means accepting that you will never fully belong anywhere. You are too mortal for the celestials, too celestial for the mortals. You bridge planes and exist between categories. Some Aasimar embrace this as freedom, recognizing that lacking firm place means possessing ability to move between spaces others cannot access. Others experience it as exile, perpetual outsider status that cannot be escaped or overcome no matter how hard they try to fit into mortal society. Your celestial blood is blessing and curse, gift and burden, destiny and prison. You carry it through all 160 years of your life if you are fortunate enough to reach that age. And perhaps not even death ends the connection if the theories about Aasimar ascending to serve among celestials after mortal life ends prove true. Section 4. Radiant Powers and Heavenly Gifts. You first discovered your power on a day you remember with perfect clarity. Perhaps you were a child who instinctively reached toward a wounded animal and watched in amazement as light flowed from your palms to close its injuries. Perhaps you were an adolescent cornered by bullies when radiance suddenly burst from your skin, driving them back in fear and confusion. Perhaps you were an adult who had lived years without realizing the full extent of your heritage, until a moment of crisis forced the celestial energy within you to manifest in ways you could no longer ignore or dismiss. However it happened, that first conscious use of divine power changed everything, confirming that you are not simply mortal with unusual ancestry, but a conduit for forces that originate in planes where righteousness and law form the fundamental fabric of reality. The most common and perhaps most merciful of your abilities manifests as healing hands. You possess the innate capacity to channel radiant energy through touch, mending wounds and restoring vitality to those who suffer. This gift requires no spell components, no lengthy rituals, no divine focus or holy symbols. You simply place your hands upon injured flesh and will the celestial power within you to flow outward. Warm light spreads from your palms, seeping into cuts and bruises, knitting torn tissue, easing pain that moments before seemed unbearable. The recipient feels warmth rather than the burning sensation radiant damage might cause enemies. Comfort rather than the searing pain that accompanies the scourge, Aasimar's self-destructive transformation. The mechanics of this healing have evolved across different iterations of the rules. In earlier 5th edition materials, you could restore a number of hit points equal to your level with a single touch. This meant that as you grew in power and experience, your healing capacity increased proportionally, allowing a high-level Aasimar to restore significant amounts of vitality with this innate ability. The updated rules present a slightly different approach, where you roll a number of 4-sided dice equal to your proficiency bonus, restoring hit points equal to the total. This creates more variability in the healing amount, while still scaling with your overall competence and experience. Regardless of the specific mechanics, the fundamental limitation remains constant. You cannot use this power constantly, cannot serve as an infinite fountain of healing for everyone who needs it. Once you have channeled the energy, you must rest completely, finishing a long rest to replenish your reserves before you can heal again. This limitation frustrates you sometimes. Standing in the aftermath of battle or disaster, surrounded by injured people, you lack the power to help. You have already used your healing hands. The celestial energy has been expended. You look at faces twisted with pain, at wounds that will fester without treatment, at suffering you could alleviate if only your power recharged more quickly. Some Aasimar respond to this frustration by training in mundane healing arts, learning herbalism and surgery, and all the non-magical methods mortals use to preserve life. Others multi-class into clerical or divine magic traditions, supplementing their innate abilities with spell casting that can provide additional healing when their natural gifts are exhausted. But the fundamental limitation remains, reminding you that despite your celestial blood, despite your connection to planes of infinite goodness, you are still ultimately mortal and bound by mortal constraints. Your celestial nature also grants you the light-bearer ability, the innate capacity to cast the light cantrip. This represents one of the simplest yet most useful applications of the divine energy flowing through your veins. In dungeons where darkness conceals deadly traps, in wilderness where nightfall brings predators, in urban alleys where criminals lurk in shadows, the ability to create light without consuming resources or requiring spell slots proves invaluable. You touch your weapon, and it shines like a torch, illuminating your surroundings while keeping your hands free for combat. You touch a stone and toss it down a dark corridor, revealing what waits in the darkness before you commit to entering yourself. The light you create carries no heat, produces no smoke, makes no sound. It simply exists, pure radiance emanating from whatever object you have chosen to enchant. This light lasts for extended periods, providing illumination for encounters that stretch across multiple minutes or even hours of exploration. You can dismiss it at will if circumstances require darkness, extinguishing the glow with a thought. The flexibility and reliability of this ability means you rarely travel without light, rarely face situations where darkness creates disadvantage or vulnerability, while others fumble with torches that consume hands needed for weapons or lanterns that require oil and maintenance. You walk in perpetual illumination, your celestial nature ensuring you never stumble blindly through the world. Aasimar also possessed dark vision, the ability to see in darkness as though it were dim light. This gift allows you to navigate environments where normal vision fails, perceiving your surroundings in shades of gray even when no light source exists. The range extends to 60 feet, sufficient for most practical purposes in enclosed spaces like dungeons or caves. You cannot discern color in complete darkness, seeing only in monochrome. But this limitation rarely matters when the alternative is total blindness. Combined with your light-bearer ability, this means darkness almost never impedes you. You can choose to create light for allies who lack your enhanced vision, or you can move through shadow relying on dark vision alone, when stealth requires avoiding the attention that glowing weapons would attract. Your resistance to both radiant and necrotic damage reflects the celestial energy saturating your body at the fundamental level. This dual resistance, as documented in recent iterations of the rules, provides significant defensive advantage. spells that blast areas with holy light, attacks channeled by paladins smiting in the name of their gods, the radiant breath weapons of certain celestial creatures. All these affect you less severely than they affect others. The damage is halved, reduced by your innate connection to the same forces being used against you. The resistance to necrotic damage proves equally valuable when facing undead or practitioners of dark magic. The life-draining attacks of wraiths and specters, the withering touch of necromantic spells, the entropy that certain dark powers wield as weapons, all deal reduced harm to you. This suggests that celestial blood does more than simply connect you to positive energy. It fortifies your life force itself, making it more difficult for powers of death and decay to unmake you. Standing before a lich who channels necrotic energy through skeletal fingers, you take less harm than your companions, your celestial essence actively resisting the unnatural magic that seeks to age and wither your flesh. The transformation abilities, unique to each Aasimar path, represent the pinnacle of your celestial heritage made manifest. When you first access these powers, typically after reaching third level of experience as an adventurer, you discover that the divine energy you have been channeling in small ways through healing and light can be released in overwhelming surge that temporarily transforms you into something that transcends normal mortality. For Protector Aasimar, this means the emergence of spectral wings and the gift of flight paired with enhanced damage on all attacks. The transformation lasts 1 minute, 60 seconds, during which you become the angel mortals imagine when they pray for deliverance, rising above earthly constraints to strike at evil from angles it cannot easily defend. The sensation of transformation overwhelms you the first time it happens. Energy that has been building within you since birth suddenly finds release, pouring out of your body to create structures that should not exist in material reality. The wings that unfold from your back possess no physical substance, yet lift you into the air as surely as bird wings bear their owners aloft. They catch light in ways that seem impossible, appearing translucent one moment and brilliantly solid the next. When you beat these incorporeal wings, you rise, leaving the ground behind, achieving the freedom of three-dimensional movement that most mortals never experience. You see the battlefield from above, identify tactical opportunities invisible from ground level, position yourself where you can best serve your allies and threaten your enemies. While transformed, your strikes carry additional radiant damage. In the earlier version of the rules, this bonus equaled your level. More recent updates tie it to your proficiency bonus. Regardless of the specific calculation, the mechanical effect remains consistent. Once on each of your turns, when you deal damage with an attack or spell, you can add extra radiant damage to one target. Whether you fight with weapons or spells, whether you channel divine magic or rely on martial prowess, this enhancement makes you devastatingly effective against fiends and undead who possess particular vulnerability to radiant damage. The evolution of Aasimar abilities across different editions of Dungeons and Dragons reveals how mortal understanding of celestial bloodlines has shifted over time. In 2nd edition, Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, Aasimar first appeared in the Planescape setting as one of several planetouched races. These early Aasimar possessed different abilities than their modern descendants. Historical records from that era indicate they gained resistances to cold and electricity damage in addition to their other gifts, representing broader protection against elemental forces. They were portrayed as rare, but not dramatically more powerful than other character races, special primarily because of their heritage, rather than overwhelming supernatural abilities. 3rd edition expanded Aasimar significantly, presenting them as distinct character option with level adjustment to balance their enhanced capabilities. The level adjustment mechanic meant that playing an Aasimar cost character levels, acknowledging that their innate abilities provided advantages that needed mechanical compensation to maintain party balance. This made Aasimar less common in actual play because many players prioritized advancing in their chosen classes over racial abilities. But it established them as particularly powerful among planetouched races. The 3rd edition approach to planes as realms expressing particular concepts shaped how Aasimar were understood during this era. 4th edition reimagined much of the cosmology, and with it, the nature of planetouched beings. The planes were reconceptualized as individual cities run by angels floating in the astral sea, rather than vast realms expressing cosmic principles. This edition introduced divas as characters who reincarnate across multiple lifetimes, representing significant departure from earlier interpretations of what it meant to carry celestial heritage. Many who work with these worlds chose to retain the 3rd edition understanding of planes and celestial bloodlines, rather than fully embracing the 4th edition changes. 5th edition, particularly as presented in Volo's Guide to Monsters and later, refined in subsequent materials, established the framework that most contemporary adventurers recognize. The 3 paths of Protector, Scourge, and Fallen Aasimar, each with their distinct transformation ability, created meaningful mechanical differentiation that also reinforced narrative distinctions between different types of celestial bloodlines. The addition of the Diva Guide as standard element of Aasimar identity further developed the lore, creating built-in plot hooks and role-playing opportunities that previous editions had not explicitly provided. The transformation abilities, usable once per long rest, gave Aasimar powerful capabilities without making them overwhelming in sustained encounters, where the limitation of once per rest created meaningful resource management decisions. The 2024 update to 5th edition rules consolidated some aspects while maintaining the core identity of the race. The option to choose size, either medium or small, accommodated broader character concepts. The resistance to both radiant and necrotic damage became baseline for all Aasimar, rather than being limited to specific subraces. The Celestial Revelation feature allows choosing between transformation options, providing flexibility while maintaining the distinct flavor of each type. Whether this represents improvement or loss of distinctive identity remains debated among those who play and study the game. But it reflects ongoing evolution of how mortal societies understand and interpret beings who carry celestial blood. Your powers set you apart, even among other planet-touched races, where Genasi carry elemental might and T flings channel infernal energy. You embody the forces of righteousness and divine law made mortal. Your abilities focus on healing, protection, and radiant damage that specifically opposes evil and undeath. This creates clear role definition. You are meant to stand against darkness, to be the light that pushes back shadow, to serve as champion of causes that align with the values of the upper planes. The mechanical design of your abilities reinforces this narrative purpose, giving you tools that excel in specific types of conflicts, while remaining useful but not dominant in others. The innate nature of your powers means you do not depend on external sources for your most fundamental abilities. You need no holy symbol to heal with your touch. You require no components to create light. Your transformation emerges from within rather than being granted by external divine entities. This independence distinguishes you from clerics and paladins, who channel power through faith and devotion to gods or ideals. Your connection is blood deep, woven into your soul, impossible to sever short of death, and perhaps not even then. A cleric stripped of faith loses access to divine magic. A paladin who breaks their oath might fall from grace, but you remain Aasimar regardless of your choices or circumstances, carrying celestial power that continues functioning even if you reject the purposes for which that power was supposedly intended. This creates both freedom and burden. You cannot blame others if you fail to use your gifts righteously. You cannot claim that your God abandoned you or that your faith wavered. The power is yours, as much a part of you as your hands or eyes. How you choose to use it, what purposes you serve, whether you become force for genuine good or merely weaponize divine energy in service of goals that have nothing to do with celestial values. These remain your decisions to make. The upper planes watch through your diva guide, they cannot revoke what blood has given you. Your celestial heritage is permanent fact of your existence, and the powers that flow from that heritage will remain available to you until the moment death finally claims you and your soul travels to whatever afterlife awaits those who walked between heaven and earth during their mortal years. Section 5. The Upper Planes and Cosmic Destiny. The realms from which your celestial heritage flows exist beyond mortal comprehension. Places where the substance of reality itself embodies concepts like goodness, law, and righteousness. You have glimpsed them in dreams sent by your diva guide, visions of mountains that reach toward infinite heights, of fields where every flower grows in perfect arrangement, of cities built from materials that cannot exist in the material plane because they are formed from justice and compassion given physical form. These are the upper planes, the domains of celestial beings, whose very existence proves that goodness is not merely philosophical abstraction, but fundamental force woven into the structure of the multiverse itself. Mount Celestia stands as the most lawful and perhaps most iconic of the upper planes, a realm consisting of 7 ascending layers that form both literal mountain and metaphorical journey toward perfection. The mountain rises from connections to other planes at its base and extends upward through 7 distinct realms, each representing a stage of spiritual ascension. These layers in ascending order are known as Lunia, Mercuria, Venia, Selenia, Mertian, Jovar, and Cronias. Each layer presents tests that souls and celestials alike must pass before proceeding higher toward ultimate enlightenment and union with absolute good. The first layer, Lunia, also called the Silver Heaven, greets travelers with a realm of perpetual gentle night beneath a sky filled with brilliant stars that never fade. This is not the frightening darkness of a moonless night, but rather the peaceful embrace of a warm summer evening that invites contemplation and rest. An endless expanse of silver sea stretches across this layer, its waters possessing holy properties that literally consist of sanctified liquid. Islands and mountains rise from these sacred waters, each one a haven of peace where petitioners, the souls of mortals who served good and law during their lives, begin their journey toward celestial perfection. The waters themselves wash away impurities, both physical and spiritual. Divas dwell here in significant numbers, guiding newly arrived souls, teaching them the principles they will need to understand before ascending to higher layers. This is the realm closest to the material plane in accessibility and comprehension, still possessing qualities that mortal minds can grasp without being overwhelmed by the absolute nature of deeper celestial truth. The second layer, Mercuria, known as the Golden Heaven, burns with perpetual light that washes everything in golden radiance streaming from the clouds above. Here, the air grows thin, causing many new arrivals to feel light-headed and giddy as they adjust to the rarefied atmosphere. The landscape consists of young mountains thrusting high into the sky, their peaks sharp and dramatic, their valleys deep with rushing rivers and beautiful verdant grasslands. This layer emphasizes the militant aspects of lawful good. Armies of celestial beings train for eternal war against evil, drilling in formations that would take mortal soldiers years to master. Fortresses of gold and bronze stand ready to dispatch forces whenever evil threatens any corner of the multiverse. The layer pulses with purpose and readiness, righteousness preparing itself to meet darkness wherever that conflict manifests. Your diva guide might dwell in this realm, watching the material plane from towers that overlook all creation, sending visions when it perceives threats that require intervention. The third layer, Venya, called the Pearly Heaven, presents rolling hills with old, rounded mountains, whose gentle slopes are covered in lush vegetation. Warm, fresh brooks and streams trickle down these ancient heights, causing life to flourish abundantly. The light here takes on a white, pearlescent quality that seems to emanate from the air itself, rather than from any specific source. This is a gentler realm than Mercuria, focused less on martial preparation and more on understanding the philosophical and spiritual dimensions of goodness. Historical records indicate that many halflings whose deity resides on this layer make their homes here. During winter, the shores of rivers and brooks become coated in ice, making the upper reaches of this plain almost impassable. Based on what scholars have observed, we can infer that petitioners who have progressed beyond the first two layers dwell here in contemplation and study, working toward deeper comprehension of law and good to prepare themselves for the challenges of even higher ascension. The fourth layer, Selenia, known as the Crystal Heaven, or sometimes the Electrum Heaven, marks the point where mortal visitors typically can progress no further without transforming into something beyond mortality. The realm consists of misty peaks and crystalline structures that reflect and refract light in patterns that encode divine truths. A soft twilight bathes everything in gentle radiance, with clouds reflecting every color of a fading sunset. To perceive the patterns encoded in the crystals requires spiritual purity that few mortals achieve. Planeters dwell in this realm, those mighty celestials who stand above divas in the celestial hierarchy. Beings of such power and righteousness that their very presence can turn the tide of planar conflicts. They coordinate the efforts of lesser celestials, plan strategies in the eternal war against the lower planes, and occasionally manifest in the material plane when circumstances require intervention beyond what divas can provide. The fifth layer, Mercian, called the Platinum Heaven, holds the divine realm of Bahamut, platinum dragon god of good dragons, along with other powers dedicated to lawful good ideals. The landscape features mountains honeycombed with caverns, where dragons of celestial nature dwell alongside petitioners who have achieved remarkable spiritual advancement. Based on descriptions from those who have glimpsed this realm through divine visions, the air itself seems to sing with draconic voices raised in harmonies that celebrate righteousness. Few non-dragons reach this layer, and those who do find themselves in presence of powers that dwarf even mighty planeters in majesty and capability. The sixth layer, Jovar, known as the Glittering Heaven, remains shrouded in mystery, even to scholars who have devoted their lives to studying the upper planes. Little is known about this realm beyond its name and its position in the celestial hierarchy. What fragmentary information exists suggests it serves as the realm of celestial rulers who coordinate activities across all of Mount Celestia. The structures here are said to be formed from solidified virtue, architecture that has no equivalent in lower planes, because it is built from concepts rather than materials. To walk in Jovar, based on the pattern established by lower layers, would mean having achieved spiritual purity approaching that of the celestials themselves. To have shed almost all aspects of mortality and selfishness that define material existence. The seventh and highest layer, Cronias, called the Illuminated Heaven, is said to contain the ultimate manifestation of lawful good. Though what that truly means remains beyond mortal, or perhaps even celestial comprehension. No reliable accounts exist of anyone below divine status entering this realm and returning to speak of it. Only the truly pure of heart can ever enter this layer, and they never come back down. Solars, the mightiest of celestials below the gods themselves, might dwell here or serve as messengers between this highest realm and the lower layers. The very substance of Cronias is rumored to be pure good, and law merged into singular perfect reality, a state of existence that would overwhelm any being not prepared through ascension of all 6 previous layers. Understanding the celestial hierarchy helps you comprehend where your diva guide exists within the cosmic order and what powers watch over the upper planes. Divas form the lowest tier of true celestials, though calling them lowest understates their capabilities dramatically. The bulk of the angel race consists of divas, with numerous different specialties existing, and divas of this rank typically possessing 2 wings. A single diva possesses power that exceeds most mortal heroes, able to heal grievous wounds with a touch, strike down evil with flaming weapons, withstand attacks that would kill normal beings instantly. They serve as messengers, guides, and warriors, the celestials most likely to interact with the material plane and involve themselves in mortal affairs. Your diva guide belongs to this category, a being of significant power, but not so mighty that it has lost all connection to mortal struggles and concerns. Planeters stand above divas in the celestial hierarchy, comprising the second choir of angels. These mighty beings possess 4 wings and serve as generals of celestial armies. A typical planeter stands 9 feet tall and weighs 500 pounds, focusing on combat and the destruction of evil. They possess the ability to fly on their great feathered wings, to channel devastating divine magic, to sense evil across vast distances. Some scholars theorize that planeters serve as protectors of entire planets, with a single planeter being responsible for watching over an entire world. A planeter might lead celestial forces against demonic incursions, might manifest to deliver prophecies that will shape the fate of nations, might intervene directly in battles between good and evil when the stakes justify such dramatic action. Few mortals ever encounter planeters, and those who do typically find themselves caught up in events that will echo through history. Solars represent the pinnacle of celestial beings below the gods themselves, the rulers of the angelic race, possessing 6 magnificent wings. These creatures embody such overwhelming power and righteousness that mortal minds struggle to fully perceive them. The mightiest solars can directly oppose even the will of a demigod if the situation calls for it. They stand at the very top of the hierarchy of celestial beings, with challenge ratings that place them among the most powerful entities in existence. Some interpretations suggest that a single solar watches over an entire solar system, responsible for maintaining cosmic balance across multiple worlds. When a solar manifests in the material plane, it means the situation has escalated beyond anything lesser celestials can address, that the fate of countless souls hangs in the balance. Mount Celestia does not stand alone among the upper planes. Other realms embody different aspects of goodness, creating a spectrum of celestial environments where law and chaos blend with goodness in varying proportions. These upper planes, positioned across what planar scholars call the Great Wheel, include Arcadia, Mount Celestia, Bitopia, Elysium, the Beastlands, Arborea, and Usgard. Each represents a different expression of how goodness manifests in the multiverse. The twin paradises of Bitopia present a plane where 2 landscapes face each other across a narrow gap. One focused on pastoral rural life, and the other on industrious communities. This realm celebrates productivity and hard work in service of good, the satisfaction of creating beauty and utility through labor guided by righteous principles. Petitioners here find fulfillment in craft and community, building societies where everyone contributes according to their abilities and receives according to their needs. The blessed fields of Elysium embody pure neutral good, untainted by law or chaos, focused entirely on compassion and kindness. This plane consists of multiple layers, each a paradise of different character. Forests where every tree grows precisely as it wishes without competition. Rivers that flow with water, possessing healing properties. Meadows where petitioners rest after lifetimes of struggle. Finally at peace in realm where suffering cannot exist. Elysium attracts souls who served good without concerning themselves with questions of law versus chaos, who acted from empathy rather than principle, who believed that kindness matters more than order. The Olympian glades of Arborea lean toward chaotic good, celebrating passion and freedom in service of righteousness. This realm of wild beauty and intense emotions draws souls who fought for good with fury and joy, who believed that freedom forms the foundation of any truly moral existence. Celestials from Arborea tend toward dramatic action and emotional responses, contrasting sharply with the measured approach favored by beings from Mount Celestia. Other upper planes include the heroic domains of Usgard, where chaotic good warriors train for eternal battles. The peaceable kingdoms of Arcadia, where lawful good and lawful neutral meet in realms of perfect order. And the wilderness of the Beastlands, where animals and nature spirits embody goodness in its most primal forms. Each of these realms contributes to the totality of upper planar influence on the multiverse. Each sends its own types of celestials to interact with the material plane. Each represents different answers to the fundamental question of what goodness means and how righteousness should manifest. Your connection to these realms through your celestial blood means you carry within yourself a fragment of their essential nature. The upper planes are not merely places you might visit through planar travel. They are part of your spiritual heritage, woven into your soul as surely as memories of your mortal childhood shape your personality. When you channel radiant energy through your healing hands, you draw upon the same forces that form the substance of Lineages' silver seas. When you transform and sprout incorporeal wings, you echo the forms of divas and planeters, whose images exist in your blood, even if you have never consciously seen them. You are not simply mortal who happens to possess unusual powers. You are living bridge between planes, a point where the material world and the upper planes overlap and influence each other. This connection carries implications for your ultimate destiny. Many scholars theorize about what happens to Aasimar after death, whether your souls follow the normal patterns that govern mortal afterlives, or whether your celestial heritage calls you to different fates. Some suggest that Aasimar who live righteously ascend to the upper planes, not as petitioners, who must slowly work toward celestial status, but as beings already partway through that transformation. Under this interpretation, your mortal life becomes the first test, and if you pass it through commitment to good and law, you arrive in Mount Celestia or other upper planes already prepared to begin service as lesser celestials. Others propose that Aasimar eventually transform into divas themselves, that the celestial blood within you represents the first stage of a process that culminates in full celestial nature. Under this theory, you are not simply descended from celestials, but are embryonic celestials, beings in the process of becoming what your divine ancestors already are. Every righteous choice you make, every evil you oppose, every innocent life you protect could be seen as advancing this transformation. When your mortal life ends, your soul might not face judgment so much as completion, the final shedding of material limitations that allows your celestial nature to fully manifest. Still others argue that Aasimar follow the same paths as other mortals, that celestial blood does not guarantee celestial afterlife any more than tiefling blood guarantees infernal damnation. Under this view, your choices matter more than your heritage. An Aasimar who serves evil throughout their life cannot expect to be welcomed into Mount Celestia simply because angels dwell in their family tree. Conversely, an Aasimar who serves good but has no particular connection to law might find their soul drawn to Elysium or Arborea rather than the ordered layers of Mount Celestia. Your blood gives you advantages and abilities during mortal life. But what happens after death depends on who you chose to become rather than what you were born as. The eternal conflict between upper planes and lower planes provides context for understanding why beings like you exist at all. The blood war rages across the lower planes as demons and devils slaughter each other in battles that have continued since before mortal memory. But celestials fight their own wars against evil, not out of hatred or desire for conquest, but from principled opposition to the suffering and corruption the lower planes spread throughout the multiverse. Fiends seek to corrupt mortal souls, to drag them into the abyss or the 9 hells, where they will suffer eternal torment, or be transformed into demons and devils themselves. Celestials work to protect those souls, to inspire righteousness, to ensure that enough mortals choose good, that the balance between upper and lower planes does not tip catastrophically toward evil. You exist as part of this cosmic struggle, whether you chose that role or not. Your celestial blood marks you as agent of the upper planes, as someone meant to stand against evil in all its manifestations. The visions your diva guide sends often relate to this conflict, warning you about fiendish activity, directing you towards situations where your intervention might prevent evil from gaining foothold in the material plane. When you fight against demons summoned by cultists, when you oppose devil worshippers who traffic in damned souls, when you destroy undead abominations that pervert the natural order of life and death, you serve the interests of the upper planes and advance their eternal mission to contain and ultimately redeem the evil that flows from the infinite layers of the abyss and the rigid hierarchy of the 9 hells. This cosmic purpose can feel overwhelming, reducing your individual existence to mere piece in a game played between forces beyond your comprehension. You did not ask to be born with celestial blood. You did not volunteer to serve as champion in conflicts that predate your birth by eons and will continue long after your death. Yet here you are, marked by heaven, watched by divas, expected to serve causes you might not fully understand or agree with. The weight of this expectation drives some Aasimar to become fallen, to reject their heritage and the responsibilities it imposes. Others embrace it, finding purpose in being part of something greater than themselves, accepting that their individual desires matter less than the cosmic balance they help maintain. As your mortal life progresses, as you adventure and face increasing challenges, you may discover that your connection to the upper planes grows stronger rather than fading. The visions from your diva guide become more frequent and clearer. You begin to perceive the planar essence underlying material reality, seeing through the physical world to the deeper truths beneath. In moments of crisis or intense emotion, you might briefly sense the upper planes themselves, feeling their pull like gravity trying to draw you home to realms you have never visited but somehow remember. This growing connection could be interpreted as preparing you for whatever comes after mortal death, gradually aligning your soul with celestial nature, until the transition from material to celestial becomes natural continuation rather than dramatic transformation. The future of Aasimar in the multiverse remains uncertain but filled with possibility. More celestial bloodlines emerge as gods, and their servants continue involving themselves in mortal affairs. Each new Aasimar born carries potential to shift the balance between good and evil, to become champion who saves thousands of lives, or corrupted fallen angel who betrays the very heritage that should have defined them. The upper planes watch and hope, sending their diva guides, offering visions and guidance, trusting that enough Aasimar will choose righteousness, that the investment of celestial essence into mortal bloodlines will prove worthwhile. You are one thread in this infinite weaving, one bearer of light in a world that contains far too much darkness. Whether you become legendary hero whose name echoes through history, or unknown wanderer who saves a few lives before passing into obscurity, you matter. Your choices ripple outward, affecting others in ways you cannot predict or measure. The child you healed with your touch might grow up to become ruler, who brings justice to a kingdom. The evil you destroyed might have spawned corruption that would have consumed an entire region. The moment of compassion you showed to someone in despair might prevent them from turning to darkness. You cannot know the full consequences of your actions, cannot measure your impact on the cosmic scales. But the upper planes trust that you will try, that you will use your celestial gifts in service of good, that you will honor the blood flowing through your veins. This is who you are. This is what you carry. This is the destiny written in starlight and embodied in your flesh. Whether you accept it or reject it, whether you become protector, scourge, or fallen, whether you ascend to Mount Celestia or find your rest in other realms, you remain forever marked by heaven's touch. The celestial song that flows through your bloodline will continue playing long after your mortal voice falls silent, carried forward by descendants you may never meet, shaping the multiverse in ways both subtle and profound. Walk your path with courage. Trust in the light you carry. And remember that every act of kindness, every stand against evil, every moment where you choose righteousness over convenience, adds to the sum total of good in the multiverse and brings the upper planes one step closer to their ultimate victory over the darkness that threatens all creation. If you enjoyed this deep exploration into the lore of Aasimar and their celestial heritage, please consider leaving a like on this video and subscribing to Lore D&D for more comprehensive dives into the rich worlds of Dungeons and Dragons mythology. Your support helps me continue bringing you these relaxing, informative journeys through the worlds we love to explore together. Thank you for listening, and may the light of the upper planes guide your path wherever it may lead.